You Booked It, episode 147. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on You Booked It, the #1 podcast where you learn how to create a successful entertainment career. Every episode is a masterclass on how to move your career forward. And if you want even more, head over to youbookeditpodcast.com and join the email community where we dig deep into what you can be doing right now to help book that next gig. And now, let's do this. Okay, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Marco Santos. Are you ready for this, Marco?
Let's do it. I'm ready for
All right.
You Book It.
Yes. Marco is a percussionist, drummer, and composer, having his base between Holland and Portugal. Traveling all over the world to perform and teach, he presents himself as a musician/composer, freelancer, working with several projects in various styles, sharing his deep devotion and passion for music. He did his first bachelor in classical percussion in Lisbon High School of Music. After a few years working in Portugal with several projects, songwriters, and teaching, he went to Holland where he did his second bachelor in jazz drums at the Royal Conservatory of Den Haag and his master's in renowned International Academy of Rotterdam on the field of word music, composition, percussion, and drums. Since he's been living in Holland, he has been successful playing and working and traveling as a freelancer with many different musicians and projects, approaching many musical styles where he won some jazz competitions and nominations. Besides working with several renowned artists in different fields, he's been focused on his own music, releasing a few albums and composing music with collaborators and other artists such as dancers, actors, and musicians. He is also the founder of the United Art Movement, creating an annual event since 2015 with the main purpose of promoting the union of various forms of art into one single stage and thus to praise art as the best tool to unify people. Marco, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, fill in the gaps, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry?
Hey, thank you so much, first of all, to invite me to be here, to be part of this. Yeah, who am I? I'm a devoted person in art. I always been very sensitive to the art worlds, especially music, but as well modern dance and theater, etc. And my life has been very much within the music scene, been working with many different artists from different disciplines, from jazz to world music, composing music for modern dance, for theater. And my base has been for the last 13 years between Lisbon and Den Haag, mostly Portugal and Holland, and always traveling back and forth and traveling around Europe, sometimes to a lot to Africa, Brazil, Russia, etc. I've been playing with a lot of different artists, and as well I have my own projects where I have my own albums as a jazz in the jazz field or modern music. And what do I do as a professional in the entertainment industry? I have to say something about that, which is, for me, there is two kinds of music or art. That's the way I feel it. There is art or music as for entertainment, and there is music for art itself. So it's not just to entertain people, but also for people to trigger people, to instigate people. And I think there is where I fit better myself. I've been in the two worlds, I should say. I've been playing a lot in the world music scene, Brazilian music or African music, where you play 2 hours and you have 300 people dancing in front of you. This is lovely, and this is amazing. It's a beautiful energy, and this we call entertainment. But I also have been playing a lot in the concert hall, where everyone just sits down and they don't have to dance. They don't have to do nothing else than to appreciate and really listen and let themselves be taken by the art, by music or whatever art discipline it is. And that's where I make this small difference between entertainment art or art as an art itself. I don't know how to put it in other words, but I think you know what I mean.
Yes, yes, I do. And you're right, they are two very different mediums, and they both have so much to offer.
Yeah, for
I love how
sure,
you
for
made
sure.
that. I love that you've made that distinction. And let's move into this first section here. And Marco, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah, there is a quote has been with me for years and is a way of living for me, which is there is no perfection but affection. Actually, is in my profile on Instagram and has been on my profile in many places for years. It's something I wrote because I believe that perfection is something that we just love and then becomes
Yes.
perfect. And so this also represents the fact there is no rules. There is no rules on art. There is no rules on something in the creative process, in the creative
Mm,
worlds. It should be there, trust, believe, and love. And then becomes perfect.
yes. I really love that take and insight on that. And let's dig into this section here. And Marco, of course, you are a professional in the entertainment industry. I'm a professional in the entertainment industry, and I think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, and personally emotional industries in existence. And you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry, like you're having now, takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, there's an outrageous amount of fun and excitement and fulfillment doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles and challenges and failures we are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
A key challenge or obstacle or failure that you experience in your career. Yeah. Okay. There has been always challenge in my career and failures as well and obstacles, and I think they are extremely necessary, I have to say. And actually without them we don't know the boundaries and we don't trigger ourselves to improve. So for me it's very important to have them, and I did pass through a lot of them in many different ways, starting by deciding to be a musician when I come from a very rural family from the countryside of Portugal. And that was already a bit of a challenge to prove myself to be a musician and artist. And through the career, many others, like changing from Portugal to Holland to start a new base in Holland from scratch. There was a lot of obstacles as well. And I think one of the biggest challenge for me was the fact that because I've been always very versatile, or I always have been connected with different disciplines. So I easily have a jazz gig at the same day, or the day after I have a Brazilian gig, or the weekend after I am doing a modern dance music, etc. For some time, I had a struggle to really find myself, where I am, who I am, when I'm doing so many different things. And this was quite a challenge, I have to say. But through the last 4 or 5 years, I've been it's a matter of accepting who I am, accepting the fact that I cannot be just, I don't know how to say, but it's like if I can't make a product of mine that reaches all the tools I have, but I have many different products that can show many personalities of myself somehow. Anyway, and I think through accepting and through the letting ourselves to go through different experience, make that for me help me to just accept and trigger myself to develop more and to do more, etc. I don't know if I'm answering well
Yeah,
with your question, but
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because you're right, all of us have multiple skill sets. We all have a passion to do different things. You don't just have to play jazz. You don't just have to play classical music or funk music or be a ballerina. You can love multiple things and you can explore all of those and
yeah.
create your own definition of who you are.
Yeah, but within the system we live nowadays can be very difficult. I can tell you. I've been confronted with that even the last months, because the system requires you to be within a certain label, within a certain box. And then if you do an album which is in the jazz label and actually became well known in that label, if suddenly you come out with another album that is something else, experimental or whatever, or world music, it can be difficult for the media, for the promoters, for the promotion to put you in the place where, it's just, this is something that in the system is not very well at that. Anyway, this is the difficulty I find in finding myself within the system, let's say.
Agreed. Yeah. The society and likes to pigeonhole us or put us in boxes. And the same thing happens because my wheelhouse is live performance, live musical theater, singing, dancing, acting, and same thing.
Yeah.
You get pigeonholed for what people see your previous body of work being.
For sure.
But it is certainly a challenge that we're always up against. But I think the important part is to keep doing what fulfills you as well and figure out how to best navigate that for yourself, because everyone has a different situation.
For sure.
Yeah. And let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living, or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing in the entertainment and arts industry.
Yeah. When you ask me this, for sure, I have to mention what I just mentioned before. First of all, I realized that I find myself being a better person devoting myself to music or to art, because music has always had a strong impact on me since I remember. And so I've been growing to that state of being, which shaped how I approach life within the musical surroundings. And of course, this it has been building me for sure to be stronger. And I cannot separate me as a person and me as a musician. So I have to say that for me, choosing to be a musician was also a way to realize that was the best way to give my best to the world as a person. And I have to mention the fact, as I said, that within that, where I find myself better to the world or giving my best, is also a bit not as an entertainer, let's put it like this, but as a love for art, as art that can trigger people and not just give a fun entertainment moment to people, which is also nice. But I believe that we are living in the period that there is so much entertainment around us, so much triggers, so much games, so many information around it that take us from the core, take us from what is actually really important. And we became very occupied with entertainments here and entertainments there, going this game, that game. We misconfuse happiness with pleasure, which are two different things, etc. This could be another conversation. So
for sure,
that's why I mention not as an entertainment, but because I believe that art, it can be something more than entertainment for me. Anyway.
Yes, for sure. And let's piggyback on that real quick and talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the auditions and callbacks, if that happened to be part of your world. What was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
I think I would say that my booked it moment was probably my last album, Old Portraits. It became one of the top 10 jazz albums in Portugal in 2014, and was quite well received in Holland and Germany as well. And because of that album, I was able to travel to many different countries playing my own music. And that for me was actually the most feeding my soul booked moment I ever had.
Oh, so good. It must be so validating to travel and to tour and to share your music.
Yeah, for sure.
What you created. Wow, so cool. And let's take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And It's a weird time. We're amidst this global pandemic. How do you see this industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Yeah, it's unpredictable, I have to say. I think everything is a bit unstable. I think the best is that we focus day by day, to be honest. But I have to say that since the outbreak, for me has been just great. I have to say, I had a lot of concerts and festivals and tours that got canceled, where I was just being a side musician with some famous artists, and all that got canceled. So suddenly I had all this time for myself, which was amazing because, of course, in the beginning it was a shock, but afterwards I started realizing it was amazing because finally I could have some time to put into my own compositions, to do my own ideas, etc. And actually, because of that, through the last months, I just recorded a new album that is coming out in the beginning of 2021 in March, which is an album that has around 25 artists in collaboration, and it's 7 compositions of mine. Each song has one different guest, and then each song has a visual artist making a video clip for each song, etc. And it was a whole project made during this outbreak period, collaborating with different artists from different parts of the world, and I'm quite happy with that. And beside that, I have a new album to record as well, which is going through the same direction of my previous jazz album, because the album I was talking right now, it's called Evocations, and it's an album where I'm only playing piano actually. My main instrument is drums, percussion. I always have been composing on the piano, and so I had this bunch of compositions that I was initially thinking to invite a piano player to play them, but actually, as being my own compositions, the best person that could put the right emotion on it maybe can be me. So I just put that challenge to record it myself, invite some great musicians to be part of it. And yeah, so this is one of the projects. Then the next jazz album is also on the way. But basically, in general, I can say that since Corona came, I've been way more sharp and focused on my own music. And has been very inspiring and positive for me.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. And I think that sentiment has been felt a lot by a lot of artists throughout this entire industry, because you're right. At the beginning, we're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
All of our income, everything has gone away. But yeah, once we've had that moment to set in, it's been really fantastic, hasn't it? To be more introspective, to sit and spend time with ourselves, because I don't know about you, but life was busy. Life was kind of go, 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 always had another project to do, something somewhere. And there wasn't a lot of time being spent on myself.
Yeah,
and
for
throughout
sure.
this time, we've had a lot more of that. And I think it's been quite a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, that's very right what you're saying. And I really feel that same. I also like to draw and to write. And in the beginning of the lockdown, which I spent in Portugal, I had time to do things that I didn't do for 15 years, for instance, and that was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is time to move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Fear.
Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
To embrace what you believe and to put everything you are in the small thing you do.
Wonderful. The third question. What is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
Yeah, better. But right now is trust. Really trust on yourself. Trust in yourself and believe on what you do and be devoted to it.
Great. And the fourth question, what is your best resource? Whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, maybe a podcast or piece of technology you found is helping your career right now.
I always like to see videos of great creations. I love to see modern dance from Crystal Pite, from Batsheva, or had naar in Nederlands Danstheater. I love to see creations by great movie makers, or Zigne, for instance, this Polish movie maker, etc. All those arts, actually quite old arts already, that's not seen as much, but all those different disciplines of art actually can trigger me and inspire me a lot to do music. So it's not, what I'm trying to say is that I don't go always to music to get my inspiration to make music. Actually, most of the times I go to other art disciplines that trigger me a lot.
Oh, that's so great and so interesting. And the fifth question, if you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently, or would you keep it the same?
Yeah, it's it's like supposing, right? But yeah, I probably not do so much school, I have to say.
Yeah?
Yes, I think if I would keep the same knowledge I have now, I wouldn't do so much school.
And the last question, what is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in this industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Yes, for sure. To follow your own intuition, to not feel scared by not following the system, to follow the joy of doing what you love and sharing it.
That is incredible insight for everybody out there. Thank you for that. And to wrap up this interview, Marco, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
So everyone, of course, I'm happy that everyone gets to know my music. You can find it on Spotify, on YouTube, on any digital platform with my name, Marco Santos. And as well, at this moment, there is a crowdfunding campaign for the vinyl of this new album, Evocations. And everyone is very welcome to help and contribute so that we can make a few thousand copies of this album, Evocations, on vinyl and be possible to share through the world.
Beautiful. And for everyone listening, you can connect with the crowdfunding at youbookeditpodcast.com/Marco so you can learn more about the Invocations album. And I've also put all of the links to what Marco just said into the description of this episode so you can easily connect with him. And be sure to share this podcast with your fellow entertainers, coaches, art and entertainment educators, and anyone you know aspiring to create a career in this industry. You Booked It is the #1 resource of expertise on how to actually create a successful entertainment career. Marco, it has been so wonderful to have you on today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you so much, Dan. It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't miss an episode. I have a new guest 7 days a week. Every guest drops more value and insight than any other resource out there. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a rating and review. Also, be sure to head over to youbookeditpodcast.com and join our free email community where we dig deep into a continually growing resource of truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help you advance your entertainment career. All the best to you. We'll see you tomorrow.